Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Tamer Al-Kadi. I'm coming at you today with some more quarantine content from Level Up Soccer. And today we're going to be covering a topic that is pretty interesting in my opinion. And it is necessary to becoming the best athlete that you can be. Today we're going to be talking about the competitive mindset and mentality. And this is a really interesting topic to me because a lot of people are always focusing on what they can do physically to improve their game, but in many sports, and especially soccer, half of the battle is your mentality. And I honestly believe that you cannot be the best player that you can be without mastering your competitive mindset. So let's talk about that a little bit today. Also, before I get into the video, this is going to be a short rendition of the article that I posted on levelupsoccer.com. So if you guys like this video and you want to check out the whole thing, read the whole article, then I'm going to have it posted in the description below so you guys can check that out and go ahead and visit the site. So, competitive mindset and mentality. Let's jump right into it. The first thing that I think we should talk about before we start talking about the steps that I've created in the process of improving your mindset and mentality is self-talk. And so self-talk is something that I had learned about when I was in high school, and it's really an amazing thing. It's been studied by sports psychologists, all kinds of people who are constantly looking for ways to improve athletes' performance. And so what it really is you, every time you do anything in a sport or anything in life really, you have thoughts going on behind the scenes, and your thoughts are speaking to you, giving you a certain tone in the background. So for example, like something that they have recognized is that athletes who are training, like lifting weights, athletes who let themselves have negative thoughts like, you can't do it, are going to do less reps than the athletes who tell themselves, you can do it, constantly telling themselves you can do it. So that's something that's really important that I learned at a young age in high school, is that what your mind tells your body is going to listen. And that's something that you need to think about during training, during a game, all the time. You need to be thinking about that so you don't allow your thoughts to become negative, or you remember to motivate yourself and your performance will be enhanced. But anyway, let's get on to the 4 steps that I've created for improving your mindset and mentality. So the first step is praising your successes. And this is pretty self-explanatory, but praising your successes means that anytime you are in a game or you're in practice and you do something exactly the way you want it and you know it was good, then you have to begin making a habit of telling yourself that was really good, or telling yourself good job, like keep doing that, keep going, you're doing great, stuff like that. When you recognize when you did something good and then you consciously think about telling yourself that was good with your thoughts, then that sort of thing starts to become a habit, and self-talk and self-motivation becomes much easier, it becomes natural, and then that's something that will benefit you greatly. So praising your successes and recognizing your successes is extremely important. On to number 2, this is also an extremely important part of the process, is acknowledging your failures and noting your failures. So the reason this is so important is because there's no way to improve if you don't know what you did wrong. And I'm sure everybody has played on teams with that person who recognizes all of their successes, but then doesn't think they can do any wrong. And that person is going to have a really hard time getting better. And so whenever you do something bad, it's super important to recognize it, make note of it, but don't talk yourself down. That's another thing. Like, I like to think, so something I learned in high school from my soccer coach in high school was, whenever you do something poorly, you have to tell yourself, it's okay, the next one will be better. That's the one I would always tell myself, is the next one will be better. Whenever I mess up a shot or mess up a pass, the next one will be better. And that's a good way of keeping yourself focused, keeping yourself in the game, keeping your head in the game, and also recognizing your failures but not beating yourself up about it. So that's a really important thing to do. Step number 3 is self-support. And so this is kind of like what I was talking about before. When you're talking to yourself, saying that you can do it, you can do it. This usually comes into play when you're doing something really difficult. So it's especially helpful in training when you're pushing yourself to the limit, like lifting weights or running for miles, whatever you need to do. But self-support is so important just to make you reach those goals that you want to reach. Like when you're training in the gym, when you're lifting weights and you feel like your muscles can't do it anymore, you have to talk to yourself saying that you can do it. When you're running hills and you think your legs are going to give out, by talking to yourself and telling yourself you can do it, you can make it up the hill, that's going to get you that extra rep. And that extra rep makes a difference. Every single time you're training, you need to be talking to yourself, self-supporting. And something really cool about this is that they did studies with Navy SEALs and the Marines and stuff like that. And the Navy SEALs, when they were doing the underwater test, it was proven that the ones who were better at self-support and motivating themselves were, scoring higher on the underwater exam. So that's really something to think about. And if you want to get the most out of your training sessions, then you need to support yourself. And then number 4, assessing performance. So this is an extremely important thing to do, both with you, in a physical sense and also a mental sense. So basically what this means is you should create a post-game or post-training ritual where you give yourself a moment to think about how you did. And that's really important because when you're doing this, you're thinking about, okay, how good were my first 3 steps? Did I praise my successes properly? Did I speak to myself and acknowledge my failures and take note of my failures? So that in this step, number 4, assessing performance, you can think about what you need to get better at, whether it be physically or mentally. Was I letting myself down in the game? Was I having negative thoughts? Was I not supporting myself with my self-support? So that sort of thing is extreme. Excuse me.